Welcome back to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We're going to get right into some Q posts. We've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here we go. Are you ready? Tie your shoes. Okay. Here we go. At 48 minutes past the hour of 5, we've got RR. Boom. Q. 53 minutes after the hour of 5, we got boom. Boom, boom, and boom. Q. 53 minutes past the hour of 5. Q is responding to an Anon who says, "Good morning, hashtag do it Q. Big day for me. Got interviews. First time in over a year. Here's hoping." Q says, "Good luck and God bless Q." And I'd like to echo that sentiment. I hope it works out for you. 16 minutes after the hour of 6, in response to a good morning Q, Q says, "Rays of light." Q. 18 minutes after the hour of 6, Q is responding to an Anon who makes a graphic regarding Parkland and a subsequent tweet from Donald Trump and says, "Made this graphic based on another Anon's catch. Good work. BDT and DEFCON direct Q." Q responds, "BDT and DEFCON direct Q." "51 minutes past the hour of 3, Q is responding to an older post where he says, "Alan, welcome aboard plane 17. Q." Q says, "We are being set up. Threat. Past booms, Texas bombs. New booms, plane crash, plus plane 17 drop. These people are sick. Attempt to prevent drops / awakening. Conspiracy? Coincidence? Response coming. Q." Adding on to that, at 52 minutes past the hour of 3, Q says, "Strike package 111V-B. Q." Okay, well, let's take you back to the first post. At 48 minutes past the hour of 5, we have RR. Boom. Q. Okay, well, we know RR. That's Rod Rosenstein, our boy Rod Rowe. Rod Rowe. Well, boom. What's going on with Rod Rowe? What's going to make Rod Rowe go boom? We all keep wondering, who's going to lower the boom on Rod Rowe? I think even Rod Rowe wants to know who's going to lower the boom. This is off of NewsMax. NBC. Rod Rosenstein is ready to be fired. He's ready for the boom. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, otherwise known as Rod Rowe, is fully aware he may be fired soon and is at peace with the possibility, NBC News is reporting. What's good? Rod Rowe's got some peace now. The news network attributed the information to a source who has spoken to Rosenstein. That sources and 2 others said they have spoken to him numerous times during his tenure as Deputy Attorney General, and they note he now seems less anxious than in previous times President Donald Trump has been critical of him. Oh, well, that's good. That's good to know. Okay, we don't want Rod Rowe all stressed out. Let me just take you down here. If Rosenstein is fired, Solicitor General Noel Francisco is the next in line to oversee Special Counsel Robert Mueller's probe, NBC News said. But the news network pointed out Trump could replace Rosenstein with anyone who has been confirmed by the Senate. Weekly Standard editor Bill Kristol claimed Trump could fire Rosenstein as early as today. "I think Rosenstein's firing is very much in play," Kristol said during an appearance on MSNBC's Morning Joe. Okay, well, Morning Joe says Rod Rowe's got to go, but Dershowitz says no. This is off of Newsmax as well. Dershowitz presses recusal of Rosenstein in Russia probe. Another recusal? Harvard Law School professor Emeritus Alan Dershowitz on Thursday further argued against President Donald Trump firing anyone in the Russia probe and instead emphasized Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein should recuse himself. "Firing is an act by the president," Dershowitz told Anderson Cooper on CNN. "I would be very much opposed to that. It would be a terrible mistake," he said, noting this position included Rosenstein, Special Counsel Robert Mueller, or anybody. That's a big difference between that and Rosenstein's lawyers taking a legitimate step that many lawyers would take of seeking recusal, he said. Dershowitz has argued Rosenstein, who appointed Mueller as special counsel last year after Trump fired FBI Director James Comey, should recuse himself because he wrote the document that the president used to justify Comey's dismissal. But on a Rosenstein recusal, Dershowitz did note to Cooper I'm not sure it even has an advantage for the president. If Rosenstein is recused, somebody else will take over, especially now there's a case in New York. There's a case here from the special counsel, he explained. From a tactical point of view, just doesn't make any sense to try and interfere with the current personnel conducting the investigation. If I were Trump's lawyers, I would be focusing on defense, focusing on trying to make a deal with the prosecution to have a minimally intrusive series of questions, Dershowitz said. That's what I would be focusing on. Okay, so Dershowitz is talking about having Rosenstein recuse himself. That's an interesting perspective, and we're getting some information from Mr. Dershowitz. We're going to talk a little bit more about him later, but let me take you to the next post. We're at 53 minutes past the hour of 5. We've got boom, 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 and a boom. Well, I don't know what those booms are. Booms are still going off in Syria, folks. I don't want to go into Syria, but booms are still going off in Syria. Just there's a lot of conflicting reports, but booms are still going off in Syria. But are we talking about this boom? And this is not a good boom. Let me take you here first. Excuse me. This is off the Washington Post. One person is dead after engine fails on Southwest flight, forcing emergency landing. One person died and 7 others were injured after an engine blew apart, sending shrapnel into the plane and forcing a Southwest Airlines flight to make an emergency landing at Philadelphia International Airport on Tuesday. It was the first passenger fatality on a U.S. carrier since 2009, federal officials said, and the first passenger fatality in Southwest's 51-year history. Okay, well, this is pretty terrible here. National Transportation Safety Board Chairman Robert Sumwalt said Southwest Flight 1380 en route to Dallas Love Field suffered an apparent in-flight engine failure of its left engine at about 11:15 a.m. Tuesday. The plane had barely begun its journey from New York to LaGuardia Airport to Dallas on Tuesday morning when the engine blew out, terrifying passengers. Wow, well, this is terrible. And look at the picture of the engine right there. I mean, just look at that thing. I don't know if that's normal, but that looks blown out for sure. All right. The passenger killed was identified as Jennifer Riordan of Albuquerque by her employer Wells Fargo. In a statement, the company said Riordan was an Albuquerque-based community relations leader. Okay, so we don't know enough yet. We don't know if there's anything kind of foul play with this or whatever, but this was something that did happen in the news, and I thought it was worth bringing up. And I think it's also worth mentioning here, this is off of Heavy.com, Tammy Jo Schultz, Southwest pilot, 5 fast facts you need to know. And these are just a couple cool things about her, but saying that she greeted all the passengers personally and whatever. It looks like she acted very professionally. And she was a former Navy pilot, and that's what I wanted to point out. She wasn't able to fly in combat with the Navy, but she was an instructor. Well, for obvious reasons, so bravo Zulu to you, shipmate. Thank you so much for that. We're going to move on. We don't know what these booms are yet, but they could be people. If Rod Rosenstein is a boom, I tend to think that we got 3 more booms coming up. Do we got a Comey boom? Do we have a Lynch boom? Do we have a Mueller boom? Do we have a Clinton boom? Oh, I don't know, but boom, 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 boom. Moving on. 53 minutes past the hour of 5. Q is responding to an Anon who says, "Good morning, #DoItQ. Big day for me. Got interviews, first time in over a year. Here's hoping." And Q says, "Good luck and God bless." Okay, well, how about this? For you, Anon, let's take a second for you and think some good thoughts for you. Okay, there you go. Here's hoping. Now, at 16 minutes past the hour of 6, Q responds to another Anon who says, "Good morning, Q." And Q responds, "Rays of light." Now, as far as I could find, I don't see anything necessarily real pertinent right now regarding Christopher Wray. I think it was just a clever way to say good morning, and Q sounds like they were being chatty. Okay, now we're moving on to this, and this is where it gets a little sticky. An Anon is posting, and Q responds at 18 minutes past the hour of 6 to an Anon who makes a graphic. This graphic is regarding Parkland, saying Parkland is a distraction. Parkland was specifically organized and designed to distract. Watch the news. Well, okay, you get the idea. It was talking about distraction, but the important part is that it's another graphic with the timeline. Notice the timeline here. This is from 42 minutes past the hour of 12, and then at 5:52 a.m., President Donald Trump tweets this: "The Second Amendment will never be repealed as much as Democrats would like to see this happen, and despite the words yesterday of former Supreme Court Justice Stevens, no way. We need more Republicans in 2018 and must always hold the Supreme Court." The Anon says, "Made this graphic based on another Anon's catch. Good work." and Q responds BDT and DEFCON direct Q. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you my thoughts on this, and I want to entertain a couple other ones, but just want to let you know there's been a lot of speculation about things, and you're welcome to have your opinion. I'm going to have mine. No sense in arguing about it in the comments below. Look, we're all trying to get the story here, okay? It's just 3 letters, but let's talk about them a little bit and see what we can come up with. Now, if you hover over, you can see that it says Bangladeshi Taka, referencing Bangladesh, okay? And then Q is also talking about DEFCON. But let's talk about BDT. There are a lot of folks saying that it simply means blunt and direct time, Bangladeshi time, which isn't a time zone, BDT. And if you look at BDT under currency, it is also the Bangladeshi Taka, okay? Now, DEFCON was a different situation. We'll talk about that in a second. But let me just take you to other times that we've seen BDT to be clear. And I want to take you to the very, very first one. This is from back in December 11th, 2017. Okay? Do you believe in coincidences? Blunt and direct time. So Q tells us right here, blunt and direct time, BDT, and then says BDT. But then Q adds, think currency. Think fireworks, thwarted. Okay, so what was going on around this time? Remember, this was December 11th. What happened December 11th? Well, I can tell you what happened on December 12th. New York subway bomb. Bangladeshi suspect was inspired by ISIL Christmas attacks. A man with a pipe bomb strapped to his body set off an explosion at one of New York's busiest commuter hubs, leaving 5 people injured in an ISIL-inspired attack. Okay, Akayed Ullah, a 27-year-old Bangladeshi national who is thought to have lived in the U.S. since 2011, triggered a stampede during the morning rush hour as his homemade bomb detonated in a busy underpass. Okay, well, I don't want to give this guy any more news, okay? But he basically hurt himself, okay? But if you can see here, if Q had come out and said, there's going to be a Bangladeshi guy blowing himself up or whatever. You know what I mean? It would be a terrible thing to give away, for one, because they were getting this information ahead of time, and I'll show that later, okay? Now, there's a lot of people that also think that this means bulk data transfer. And I mean, I suppose you could work it in there, and I'm sure you could probably, if you want to build that narrative around that, you're welcome to. I'm going to disagree with it. I don't think it's way off, and I think that there's, sure, there probably were instances in which bulk data transfers did occur. But let me just keep taking you up just to make my point. Oh, I'm very sorry about that. Let's take you to this next one. Now, this was a long one. Now, this involves DEFCON 2. And if you remember, the DEFCON, what happened here? The DEFCON. Well, we had the whole thing that was going on in Hawaii. Remember, this was January 13th, okay? And incidentally, guess who was in Hawaii? All these folks right here from page 6. She just can't pull out. Hillary Clinton aide Huma Abedin and her jailed sexaholic hubby, Anthony Weiner, have ended their pending divorce case. Okay, I don't want to go way into them, but Abedin, 41, spotted over the weekend sunning herself at the luxury Four Seasons Hotel on Hawaii's Big Island, was scheduled to appear in Manhattan Supreme Court for a compliance conference in her contested divorce case against Weiner, 53. Wow, look at those guys. It's good to know that there's still love being kindled there, right? Too, because they're a good couple too, right? Because she likes adrenochrome and he likes her, right? So it works out pretty good. But anyway, look, this is from January 10th, 2018. And remember, the Clintons were there too. They were talking in Hawaii as well. I'm not going to take you to any links. You can look it up. But my point is, we had a non-nuke, a DEFCON, okay? Remember, DEFCON was kind of scared a lot of people. It freaked everyone out. But it was a non-nuke. Now, we don't know if it says non-nuke false. Now, I don't know if it was a false missile, but I do think something was going on there. But if you take it down here, and where is it now? BDT. Where's BDT in this one? There we go. Think BDT. Well, yes, you could think of bulk data transfer. Maybe they shut down the island after this warning, and there was a data transfer there. Wouldn't be surprised. I think that that idea is interesting and intriguing. There's a lot of people that think that. Feel free. But here's why I think this is still Bangladeshi time, or Bangladeshi, just in reference, actually, I think, to the actual bombing itself. Again, they had direct pre-knowledge, and that's why they could thwart it. And again, they were able to send a warning and an alert so that whatever needed to be done could be done. Does that make sense? Okay? And again here, now this is where it's important. Look at January 14th. BDT, false flag poses, versus actual news of bomb attempt. So we're talking about the same event. We're just talking about the false flag post versus the actual news, but we're still referencing the bomb attempt, which leads me to think BDT, okay? I don't want to keep beating this dead horse, but I just want to make sure you guys understand at least where I'm coming from. And then, of course, we have the DEFCON warning here post versus the Hillary scare. Well, remember, Hillary was on the island, okay? They climbed up to some peak and whatever, and they were giving a speech as well. But they were all on the island, these poor guys. And then we had these kids, these lovebirds, and they were on the island. It was a shame that this missile was going to scare them, wasn't it? It was a real shame. But anyway, I think you see what's going on. But my point is, is that even back then, Q was wanting us to do these side-by-side graphics. Show the post versus the actual news. Show the warning versus the actual scare and who was there on the island. Above represent primary indicators, okay? And I still don't really get this SET. I'm assuming security indicators. It might be something different. Post, tweets, time. Remainder below, start here, will guide. Okay, because you can see the Q was always guiding us to do these memes. And now when you see this last one here, we see this side-by-side graphic, and now Q is saying, please, they want us to make memes regarding the Bangladesh bombing and the Hawaii thing and show the direct correlations. Now that's just my opinion, and folks, I welcome other ideas, and I'm happy to admit myself wrong, but I think that is where we're going with it. Let's move on, please, okay? 51 minutes past the hour of 3, Q is adding on to an older post from April 12th that says, Alan, welcome aboard plane 17Q. Q adds on, we are being set up. Threat. Past booms, Texas bombs. New booms, plane crash plus plane 17 drop. These people are sick. Attempt to prevent drops. Awakening. Conspiracy, coincidence, response coming. Q. Okay, I'm going to do my best to make my point, and I'm going to reference some articles. You can, of course, read the articles. I don't want to read a ton of the articles to you. I just want to set up what I think that this could be talking about. Now, Alan, plane 17. We've already talked about this, okay? We're referring these to Alan Dershowitz and these logs that were implicating at the time Dershowitz's involvement on Epstein's planes. You can read all about this. It's an older article, okay? And here's the very one that we're talking about. Now, I never got to make this point because the rest of my video got deleted, or I deleted it, but I had taken it down. But anyway, so we see that this was a round trip, okay? Now, Dershowitz was Epstein's lawyer, okay? We don't know what was involved. We don't know if Dershowitz ever went to the island or not. We don't know. We do know Alan Dershowitz was on the plane. We do know that. And he was on multiple planes. Now, they were round trips. This one looks like to Palm Beach. Okay, I get that. But the point was, stuff was happening on these planes, and people were getting implicated. But more importantly, is it possible that a couple people were getting set up? Well, who would be set up? I can think of two immediately. Okay, number one, Mr. Alan Dershowitz. Number two, President Donald Trump. Remember, when Epstein went down, they tried to bring two people down with him. Who were they? These two. Why? Because they were a threat. They knew this guy. They knew what was going on the island. It doesn't matter if Dershowitz made it to the island because Dershowitz knew. Excuse me, I'm on the wrong one. But we know Dershowitz was on the plane, and we knew stuff happened on the plane. This guy always maintained his innocence, and he was never charged. That was my eventual point. But my bigger point is that the point is that when we had all this come out, let me take you to when we were actually dealing with this situation. And I'm just searching in the keyword island, and it takes you to April 7th. We have a link, and remember, we were on the island, third night of the island, and we were talking about Epstein's island. And I'm not going to rehash all that stuff. That's from April 7th, okay? And then I'm going to take you over here to the Daily Caller on April 10th, okay? This is when Alan Dershowitz visits the White House, has dinner with Trump. Okay, so just a couple days after we finished off the island, now we've got Alan Dershowitz meeting with Trump. And Dershowitz is advising Trump on what? Constitutional law. How to deal with Rod Roe. How to deal with Mueller. How to deal with Comey. Who knows? How do we know that Dershowitz wasn't telling him how to deal with Epstein? We don't know, and I don't want to imply anything more there, but it's a connection. It's an interesting connection, and it seems like the people that would have been set up would have been those two. Does that make sense what I'm saying? We are being set up. Threat. Past booms. Texas bombs. Well, the last time Q was talking about bombs, they were talking about the Texas bombs. You get that. Boom, 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 boom. There was all those booms, and there was the Texas bombs. And who did they eventually try to pin that on? They actually tried to pin it on Q. New booms. Plane crash. Could it be this plane crash involving our Navy pilot who ended up finding out a way to how lucky we were to have a Navy pilot bring that plane down. Thank goodness. Okay. Plus the plane 17 drop. Okay, are they going to try and defame Dershowitz just as he's really giving good advice to President Trump on how to deal with Rod Rowe in this Russia probe? Okay, now I don't know about all this strategy about recusing and this stuff like that. That's beyond my pay grade, folks. But from what I'm seeing here, that's the connection that I'm making. I hope that makes sense. These people are sick. Well, we know they're sick. I don't know how sick, but we're going to find out how sick. Attempt to prevent drops. Yeah, there are people on here. Remember, there's a ton of our Armenian CIA agents on here giving disinformation. I could be one of them, right? I suppose you could look at it that way, right? Everything is kind of getting confusing. People are trying to do these fake Q drops and blah, 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 blah. Conspiracy, of course, we've seen the conspiracy. Coincidence, response coming. Well, we don't know what the response will be, but I'm sure that's going to happen soon. Okay. And then we're going to take you to the last post, adding on to that, 52 minutes past the hour of 3, strike package 111VB. Folks, I've got nothing for you on that. And to be honest with you, I don't dive deep in these things, especially right now. These are future proofs, past kind of things. And, you're welcome to if you like. My only thought on that is that these are probably, if it's a military strike or something like that, we'll find out. I'm not going to find out ahead of time, and I suppose even if I had any sort of crazy fancy privy knowledge, I wouldn't tell you anyway. It wouldn't make sense, right? I think that's just respect for the American military and our security and things like that. But if you want to go find something, and you can find something that's very obvious or something like that, could be 111 kinds of certain kind of V-class missiles struck that are getting dropped from a bomber. I don't know. Who knows? Don't want to go way into it, but it's clearly a strike package, and it sounds like it could be our response that's incoming. Boom. Those are your Q posts. I hope that helps. And sorry I didn't reference a ton of links, but really I just wanted to get you kind of up to what the story is. And we'll see with some of these booms what goes on. Until then, stay safe. My name is Sir Patrick Mack. This is In Pursuit of Truth. And until next time, stay happy, stay loyal, stay compassionate, stay truthful.